So I'll call this meeting into session. Just first thing, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. All righty.
Is Eric not here?
Eric isn't here yet,
Okay.
but hopefully he'll sign.
Oh, there's Eric. Great.
Oh, there he is. All right. Eric's here. Perfect. All right. So first thing, I wanted to give a few updates on a couple of things. And actually, I'll let Abby go first just to update us on Arbor Day planning for next year and years ahead.
Yeah, so Mr. Florek let me know that he will not be able to make it to this meeting because he's very busy at the moment. Things are very busy in the greenhouse, but he said that he is trialing some cuttings. I'm interested to know which varieties. So I'm waiting to hear back from him about that. So yeah, those are the updates. I also invited him to the next meeting, so I will have to wait to see if he'll be attending that one.
So do you know where he's getting the cuttings?
No.
Because I wondered, and I haven't really thought this out, but we had talked about getting seeds from Ice Glen at one point. I wonder if I don't, and the trees may be big, but I wonder if it's possible to get some cuttings from some of the resistant trees, some of the trees that are doing well at Ice Glen, just out of interest.
Mm-hmm. I can ask him about that.
Well, and if I'm assuming he's probably working with the grounds at Monument.
Yeah.
So, I think to this year being like a trial run, doing the cuttings from the woods, because that connects all really what was once continuous. But starting this year with the cuttings to see what works. Mm-hmm. And then, as time goes on, developing like a system where we could have students come learn about Ice Glen and like that was my original thought with the seeding, because hopefully they'll do the cuttings, the propagation this year, and then he can develop a whole
From there, okay.
thing and go from there, just to make it easy on the first go. Because seeding, I have to go back into the books, but germination rates of tree seeds are like
Very low.
it's like 20%. So for every one you get, you have to plant 20. So, and then germination could take 2 years.
But so he's doing it from seed? Because you can also take cuttings of the actual plant and put it in oxen. And that's,
Sounds like that's what he's doing.
I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, he said he got cuttings.
yeah, that works pretty well.
What's his name again?
Bill
Mr. Florek.
Yeah.
Bill Ford?
Florek. Correct me if I'm wrong. Florek.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay, so yeah, just keep us posted, and if he can attend the next meeting, we'll just put him on. We'll get on John so we can talk to him. Because then we could bring that up to him more about the seeds.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, and then farmers market. I shared in the documents just a draft. Michael sent me about 4 different descriptions of like a market manager position from 4 different towns in Massachusetts. Obviously, some of them were way bigger and more extensive than what we're planning. But I kind of just took all of them, picked the wording I seemed to like and know the most. I know you sent me some edits I haven't looked at yet. But I wanted to share this. If there was any other thoughts and notes that people wanted to be addressed on it, which I actually got.
I mean, some of them are just like little detail-y, edity things for clarification. But there were two things that I was wondering about. One is, in the market organization and development section, would it be appropriate to add something to the effect of lead efforts to publicize the market?
I don't see why not.
Because we don't have that.
It should actually go beyond that, Shelby. You got to stress social media. Promotion's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Newsletters, CTSB, interviews, I don't know how you want to put it, but if you don't promote it, it's not going to be very successful.
yeah, that's a good point. So we could, we could broaden that. Yeah,
So publicize social media, interviews,
press outreach.
press release. And I think, that too, in the first couple of years, I think that's also where we can support more. Like we can help put up posters. We can, do some of that stuff just to like ease the first year's burden because it is an upstart.
And the Chamber of Commerce is really good about passing press releases out to a whole raft of outlets.
Okay.
Then the other thing I had a question about in the financial management, assist AFC with collecting records pertaining to the market spending. I just didn't know what that meant.
I'm in the future, I foresee like when they do have, and they will have a small budget of whether it is promotional material or it is in terms of traffic, like how many people are coming and going, how much money are people actually making at it. So we can start doing in the future, setting prices of future revenue collection. So it's not so much this year we're not collecting money. In the next year, we're not collecting money, but to start getting a gauge of, all right, how much, if not the board, when I brought this up to them, Chuck, he seemed like, he was very open to like, if it goes well and we're spending the budget appropriately, that they were interested in continuing if they could find the funds. So they would be interested in continue supporting the position down the line once it, but I don't know what the exact records are going to be right now, but that's what I was thinking.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
You want to track and record vendor attendance, shopper count, and sales data.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
That's a good one. Sales data.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else? No, that's about it.
That sounds good.
I have a couple other suggestions.
Go for it.
When you go, this is a seasonal hourly position, $24 an hour. It's a town position. You got to say no benefits, and you got to put in. I just divided $25 by 10,000, and it's no more than 400 hours per season. So you're actually giving them an idea of what the parameters are.
Got it. No benefits. Okay.
Yeah, and for clarification, I suggested in the middle of the opening paragraph, so for its first year, the market will run 1 day per week for 4 to 6 weeks for 2 hours each day.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. No, that's good. No, that's great. And to stuff with, and Eric, that's when I met with Michael, he said like stuff like that. He's going to be like the quote unquote HR, everything's going to go through him, payroll, everything like that. So he's going to make sure that like they understand the benefit, like the no benefits, the stuff like that. We'll be the advisors in the sense of to help figure out where to market, how to publicize, and also reaching out to vendors and stuff.
Well, they have to, this is a posting for a position, so that really should be in there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. And Michael hasn't given me, I sent this to Michael for him to to look at too. So I'm also waiting for his edits. So when I'm sure he has thoughts too. One person forward.
I'm
But I'll
not
make
sure, I'm not sure where this should go, but we're going to want volunteers to work with the person. And I'm guessing some of us are going to be volunteers. So they got to manage that as well.
Got it.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Well, because, you know, you're going to have volunteers. I mean,
Yeah.
every market has them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's under market organization and development. They have to determine what the municipal requirements are and get any permits required. And I'll guarantee you, depending on what you have at the market, the Board of Health will have to issue a permit. And I'm not sure what other permits.
Yeah, I'll check in with Michael about that, but I'll make sure that gets on permits in general. And I could even foresee the volunteer, yeah, I'll see where it fits in. Either that's financial management or its own category with the volunteer, or excuse me, market organization. That might just fall under that umbrella, all of that permit.
That's where I'd put it. That's where I'd also do the track, the records and sales.
That's great. All right. Any other additions? Anyone else see?
I just realized just a minor change in the business about collecting records. You've got Assist AFC. I think that they should take the lead.
Just take the lead. Okay, I can change that.
Yeah.
Take lead.
This is good.
Well, I hope it looks official. All right, so, well, I'll make those additions and I'll resend it out. And get in touch with Michael to confirm with him when he's gonna post it. Yeah,
Are we going to be taking EBT cards? That requires another level.
right,
Market.
right. I think, well, and that is something
Go ahead.
you have a thought.
You're talking about the coupons for people? I don't know what they're called.
No, not the market match.
No.
Bab has been involved in that.
Yeah,
This is actually, to do that, you got to take EBT cards. Well, one of the vendors, most of the times it's the market that applies and has that, as opposed to the vendors.
And I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with it. So it allows
It allows people what used to be called food stamps and now is an
to
EBT
use them at the
card
market.
to use them at the market. And then there's a separate market match, which we funded at BAV for a half a dozen markets this year.
I would like to see us do that.
I would love to see it. So I mean, I think that,
Now,
Go ahead.
you really need the market manager to set that up.
right,
Because generally it's not the individual vendors. And I'm not quite sure what you need to do, but to get the market match, you need to take EBT cards. And somewhere in there, I think you need to indicate that.
and again, I think that'll just go under market development and organization.
Sure.
And since we don't have an EBT system already set up, maybe we can frame it as apply / set up a system for accepting cards.
And that may be something we can help
We can help with. Well, and
research how to do it.
well, I mean, it sounds like BAV runs a lot of this at other not runs it, but supports.
Where a market takes EBT cards, We provided the funding and from grants that we got to, if you buy $1 worth on your EBT card, you get $1 extra up to a certain amount. And I think we provided probably $50,000 to $100,000 to the various markets, but you have to take EBT cards first.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I'll add that in. Okay.
You could put in under market activities, like develop the ability to take EBT cards.
Ability. Now I'm assuming because it's a card, it's going to literally require internet connectivity. I'm assuming, right?
Might be able to do it over a set with.
Or like cell service.
Yeah, I'm not sure which.
All right, I'll look into.
All the markets here take them.
Right. So they've got to have a way, or yeah.
And anybody that's got experience in the farmer's market would know how to do that.
Yeah. They should know. Okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
But I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
It's important to include it.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
yeah, but you should put that in the market organization development desire to do that.
Well, and I'm hoping too, we'll see, we'll post this and we'll see who applies, and hopefully we get someone who's
Who's done this?
who's experienced. Because that will obviously give us a jump start.
Right.
I do know in the past, anecdotally, some markets have split this position. So 2 people have done it so that there's 2 people.
There's backup. Yeah.
But obviously it was a little bit bigger markets. But as long as in my head, as long as the payout is the same, the stipend is the same.
And the work gets done.
And it gets done. If there's 2 people, that's great. They want to work that out. Not that I know that there will be, but.
Well, you also, developing volunteers is sort of important.
Right.
I don't know how you put that in there, but one person can't really be everywhere. So,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming that some of us will probably volunteer just because we're curious, if for no other reason.
I think there.
Yeah, exactly. I hope so. All right. Well, let me put these into the handout, resend it to Michael with these additions, and he might have some overlap here. And then I'll also share it around again, just so we can see it and make sure I didn't forget anything. Awesome. All right.
I just wanted to say that maybe whoever gets the position could also work with the high school, because I know that there's tons of kids always looking to get more volunteer hours. So I'm thinking maybe we could they could put up a notice or something, or send an email to one of the advisors and see if any of the students would be interested in volunteering.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking what I can do, at least in the volunteer section, develop volunteers / managing volunteers, develop like outreach to, and I guess call out the high school and
Waldorf school too.
and just call out the schools that way.
Waldorf is.
Yeah.
So as this has expanded,
Yeah.
meeting, make sure Michael knows and the candidates know that we're willing to help. Because there's a lot there.
No, exactly. And and I think because between the 5 of us, Eric's got a lot of the nitty gritty skills of running the market.
Yep.
Abby's got great connections still in the high school. And then with us in the community in the sense of different Waldorf, whichever it may be, I think it'll be important for us to reach out to those communities to really get them here in different ways. All right. So I'll make a note, high schools, Waldorf. Okay. I'll try to name drop them. All right, awesome. So moving on, those are the couple updates. Next up, we have a site visit to town forests.
And I have some things to report on that.
Awesome. So I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, so I talked to Mike Buffoni, and also we've exchanged a bunch of messages. And I've talked to Jeff Jourdain, who is the forester who Mike has been using, and Jeff also. So Jeff has done a forest stewardship plan for the watershed properties and also for the Stockbridge Mountain properties. So he sent me both of those plans, and I passed them on.
Okay.
So everybody will see them. I haven't had time to look at them all. Just really only looked at the introduction and the management goals, and in front of them. So it's the goal of the watershed stewardship plan to help the town meet its management goals of protecting and improving water quality, maintaining an active logging program, and maintaining an active tree planting program. But if you look at the goals, because there's a chart that, that the landowner has to fill out, also this high priority was enhancing habitat was also given as a high priority. And one thing that I think is interesting, and the form says that enhancing the quality and quantity of timber products must be a high goal in order to classify the land under chapter 61, 61A. So if the town wanted to get chapter 61, then they had to say, timber is a high priority. I don't know how much they're working on that. The watershed, according to the plan, the document, the watershed has been actively managed since 2001. Jeff sounds like he's really on top of it. He said he's concerned about invasive insects and long-term climate resilience. He's recently been focusing on removing ash trees for obvious reasons, and also removing aspen because they're quick growing, they don't contribute well, to long-term diversity. And he's replanting with, he said, a variety of species. And there's a lot of deer. So he's been putting, the plastic tubes around the new trees. For the Stockbridge Mountain Forest, he said, access is really tough because, there's a very steep slope, a ridge basically on either side. So it's really a pain to get at, and there's no real right of way. It's landlocked, that piece of property. So he feels like, well, unless we have a real serious reason to do anything active there, we might just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I don't want to interrupt, go ahead.
Sure. And the goals for the stewardship plan were to protect water quality, protect biodiversity, and improve the overall health and quality of the forest. And of course, the timber products thing was also marked high. Enhancing habitat and preserving or improving scenic beauty were also marked high. So we don't need the Water and Sewer Commission's permission to walk the Stockbridge Mountain property. Jeff said if we happen to be available, he's going to be in the area on the morning of December 17th. It's a Saturday, and he could meet us at noon or 1 o'clock to walk that forest. Although Mike pointed out we should wait until after deer season.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know when deer season ends because there's a lot of hunting up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that may not work.
So I don't know when deer season ends. The Water and Sewer Commission has to vote to approve letting us walk the watershed. And Mike said, it's not a problem. I mean, they're going to say yes. It's just that they have to do the vote.
Oh, yeah.
And they haven't had a quorum the last couple of meetings. They're meeting again tomorrow. So he's hoping that they'll be able to say yes and get back to us. But he said, we probably should just wait a little while, to walk that anyway.
Yeah.
So that's
So it sounds like the Stockbridge Mountain areas are consistent with with our goals of finding some property to just leave alone. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
watershed, they should just do whatever they're doing, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe put, if it's under chapter 61 and they do some logging, that's fine, but if the mountainous area is steep and hard to get to, it'd be hard to log anyway. And it might
Yeah.
be good if at some point we could see it
Right,
and see if some of it could really just be designated as really leave it alone.
right.
Yeah, and, if we wanted to try to enhance old growth characteristics in parts of it, then, we have to discuss like, how would we actually practically do that? And Jeff pointed out, the only way to get old growth forest is to just leave it alone and become old growth. You can,
Right.
you can bring, speed up some of the characteristics. That doesn't actually make it old growth.
Right, right.
Which is a good thing to remember.
It's future old growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
that's.
Oh,
that's what it-
absolutely.
that's
And it's a
what it
good
is.
sized plot. So
How big is
it's
it?
300 and something acres.
Right. Well, I mean, like, I think, to your point too, it aligns like right now. And like, as we go through the future, it's just kind of like, this was the plan, like, let's keep monitoring it for invasives, and just, because the only, old growth to me is like, it really just designates the point where the settlers came and decided not to cut, right? Like,
Well, they couldn't.
because they couldn't,
They couldn't.
right? They would have if they could have.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So, but before that, there were people, there was, the Muncie here managing
Yeah.
in their way the forest. So if we can adopt those practices, a little bit of hands off / just cataloging and making sure like it's moving along.
And it would be nice to see, to just walk around the watershed to get a sense of what kind of species diversity is there and what is Jeff thinking about for long-term? Because, I mean, climate change, obviously, there's going to be some species shift and he's got it in mind. It'd just be interesting to know what he's
Yeah, I'd
doing.
love to see it.
I'm sending an email right now with the two plans so everyone can read it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not opposed to, I don't want to walk during deer season,
No.
but I really like to see the Stockbridge Mountain area too.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Climb a hill.
Yeah, it's a steep ridge, but hey, we take it easy.
Yeah.
Take our time, we'll get
I
up
would
there.
really like to see it.
There's a Laurel Hill Association property that is not quite contiguous with it. I thought it was contiguous, but Jeff said there's actually a different property, kind of sliver of somebody else's property in between, which was a surprise, but I don't think anybody's going to have any issue with us going up there and walking around. I mean, hunters are going up there.
Right. Oh, let me just.
I'm on mass.gov and it looks like all hunting ends on December 31st.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Remember, there's bear hunting though in January.
Hey, there's Patrick.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yeah, just bear hunting season, I believe, is in January. So you might look at all of them.
Can't we just leave the bear alone?
It's not, what am I saving this as?
So maybe at the next meeting, we can talk
Yeah.
about a time to,
Yeah, we can schedule a time, and I mean, it's almost like, in my opinion, I don't know about everyone else, but my bark idea is very horrible in terms of trees. I need the leaves. Yours good? Okay. As long as someone comes with us that can help with the tree ID. Because, obviously it'll be anecdotal, because we'll just walk where we walk and we see what we see, but just kind of gather a sense.
And Jeff,
And
we do it with Jeff, so
Right.
between you and Jeff,
You know.
Yeah, I'm not-
Are there trails?
I don't think so. Well, there may be trails they're probably deer trails, and there may be some trails that, the hunters have put in or are using just from habit. guess we'll find out.
Yeah, so I would want him there so we know where
Yeah,
we're going.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think the boundaries are flagged.
Yeah,
So,
so it'd be important for him to be
Yeah.
there. Okay, so maybe put it on the January agenda that we could pick a date to try to do it.
You know, I have too many folders. Saved this somewhere and it just disappeared. All right. All right, any other thoughts about site visit? Does that sound good? We'll try to do, we'll schedule for after the January. Okay. All right. And, all right. That's great. Thank you so much for collecting all that
oh, sure.
information. That's huge.
I'm
Yeah, I
looking
look
forward to it.
reading it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting out there too. But
Yeah.
these reports, the plans are like 40 pages each, so
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, great.
All right. Moving on, discussion, January hybrid meeting. All right.
So I
Yes.
forwarded you some of the emails from Sally, people she had contacted. So they have a representative from SBA and Moose. And I also sent you the report that was done by the, the land, Conway School of Landscape Design.
And I think you remind me and I forward that out in
Did
my
that-
update email. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't read it yet, but it looked very interesting. So Peter Grima from DCR, she also contacted. I don't know if he would attend the meeting. And Jess Toro also expressed interest in attending the meeting to talk about it. She had a lot of ideas
Oh,
about
good. She's
hemlocks
great.
on the bowl. Yeah, I think she would be a good source of information. So for the next meeting, I have a list of people we should invite and whatever information you think that they should get prior to that meeting.
Yeah. So, and that goes into part of what I shared in the documents too. David Orwig hasn't gone back to me about setting up a time to come yet. But going back into our previous conversations, I rediscovered some of the material he had sent the first time, way back when we were really talking about the Ice Glen. So I just resent that stuff out for our own collective knowledge, just to familiarize ourselves with it. But in terms of what the people should see, maybe it should just start with in my mind, I thought just the report that we had created about Ice Glen, that had a description of what the hemlock, the problem was and what we were doing. Because I think that report, if I remember correctly, had a lot of information in the lead up about the hemlocks and stuff before it gets to the recommended treatment and stuff like that. And I think one thing we can do is speak to why we chose our treatment in particular, being kind of what we addressed last meeting, that it was away from water sources.
Right.
And we were doing direct, and we trying to prioritize direct injection.
I think it'd be important, though, to also include the Conway School report, because that talks about what happens when the trees are no longer there.
Right.
Because I think the issue for the properties around the Stockbridge Bowl are when those trees come down, if those trees come down or die, what does the landowner do? And I think that's part of the conversation. SBA and Moose is also interested in
Right.
coming, but they would want to have. So that's more about replanting or planting an understory prior to the trees coming down.
Gotcha. And just so I understand, this meeting
In January.
in January, we're going to be the people holding the agenda, or is it going to be with the ComCon? Or are we going to be the ones?
I think we're setting the agenda, and if
Okay.
the Concom meets next week, if there's something they want to add, I'll ask them to let me know or let you know.
Okay.
But Sally has passed on, everything Sally has already done, I passed on to you.
Oh, perfect. So we'll be running the meeting. We have the Conway School report. We'll share the Ice Glen report just from our own knowledge. And then how does the meeting want to be structured? That's another question I had. I don't know if the Concom had any opinions other than,
I think the way we did it last time,
okay,
with them being in attendance, that seemed okay to other people at the meeting?
yeah, I think, Eric, you
Eric, you
were,
were there.
I was there.
yeah,
Yeah, that seemed to work.
I think they were okay with that.
okay,
So we talked about the long-term treatment and management for the ice clean and the properties around the bowl.
Not necessarily treatment. I don't think the Concom's interested in, Concom's not going to recommend chemical treatment. I mean, it's private property, so people are
Right.
going to do what they want to do, but they may need, that's a different issue. But the Concom's not going to recommend chemical treatment.
right.
So are we really focusing on the bowl then with in this meeting? We're talking about ice clean?
No, we're talking about the bowl. And that report was on Deerfield River watershed,
Yeah,
but some of it may be applicable. So I didn't know in terms, well, we need to set a date because I think the first Monday in January
Right.
is a holiday.
right.
So that's one piece. And then in terms of sending out invitations to all these people, I didn't know if you want to do that, if you want me to do that, whatever works for you is.
Well, it's just that list that Sally,
Well, now it's just Toro
Jess Toro too.
Conservation
Okay.
Commission. I have the address for Moose. I don't have that. Peter Grima and the SBA contact. And the students from the Conway School, I don't know if they'll come.
Okay.
But I thought we could
Okay.
extend.
Maybe what I could do is we can formulate like a formal letter or email that we can send to all the parties.
With
And
those two documents.
we'll have those two documents. We'll have the date, the time, and we can send a copy at least of the Zoom link. We won't send an agenda yet, but it can be like a precursor. And then I think in terms of if we're gonna have that many people, what I would probably prefer, or at least myself, being sort of like a moderator in the most part. Because I don't think David's gonna get back to us in time to like talk or be on Zoom. If he does, we'll work it in. And I don't know if Jess wants to say anything or we'll let
Just Toro?
Toro. She'll say something.
She'll say something.
But because the other thing is, I think it's kind of important that we have like the opening statements almost, and then we have people ask questions. So that it doesn't become the one thing, because it was nice the other day, we could have a conversation with the ComCon, but if more people come, just a way to kind of control how are the questions being delivered?
Sure. And this isn't going to be solved in one meeting, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So,
Question,
Yeah,
specific agenda items that are going to be the topic of discussion. You have to put that on the meeting.
so my take is that it's going to be a discussion of invasive pests,
response to
invasive pests around the bowl. Focusing on hemlock, woolly adelgid, ash borer. Is there
I
anything
think those
else?
are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones. And I think that will probably just be the whole agenda, will just be a discussion on that, because, and we'll keep it in line.
The, one of the emails from SBA talked about just getting even just getting information out would be helpful. And I forget the woman's name, but she said they may dedicate one of their meetings to getting the information, just so people are aware. I mean, we're not, this is private property, it's not town property.
Right.
We're not in any position to be telling people what to do. This is more educational.
Right.
The only reason I bring that up is
Yeah.
open meetings law. You have to have the agenda item so an ordinary person could read it and know what the discussion's going to be.
Yeah.
I agree.
So if it's more than just that, just add 2 or 3 other things, whatever you want to discuss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because I don't foresee too many tangents from that.
What did we call it last time?
I can tell you right now. Last time we had it as Willie Adelgid around the discussion, Willie Adelgid around the Stockbridge Bowl, guests, Conservation Commission members.
So why don't we can broaden it to include the emerald borer, just invasive pests
Yeah,
around Stockbridge Bowl.
basic
Discussion.
around the Stockbridge discussion.
Or the effects of
Right.
invasive pests.
Because like you're saying, Eric, I don't want to, we're not going to tell people,
Yeah, this is a
what to do.
conversation. This is a conversation.
because since it is private property,
Yeah.
we can only, we.
That's okay. You just need to put an agenda item that covers what you're going to discuss.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's all I said.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree.
So it sounds like what we want, what ultimately is to make recommendations for dealing with these invasives.
I don't want to even.
No, I
No?
don't know that we'll.
Don't wanna go that
I think
far.
we have to see where it goes.
I think-
we'll be making recommendations.
We won't be making recommendations, it's just to be a
Private property.
discussion, information, yeah. I think we can do that, we can
To-
take
to
from the
make,
discussion last time.
Making people aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And for timing, so like you said, yes, the first Monday in January is a holiday. So, the next Monday is the 9th.
I thought this
I'll give
was,
everyone a second to,
oh, you want to shift it to the 9th?
But Monday, the 2nd is a holiday.
the
Oh.
second is a
Oh,
holiday,
that's right.
yeah.
Since now I'm not working anymore, I don't.
Throw the calendar out the window.
Yes, the 9th at 6:30.
9th at 6:30, good with everyone?
Good with me.
Okay. All right.
You also have to check whether it's good for CTSB.
Yeah, I think, what if we did it this way? In that email that we'll make with the information that we want to send out. Then the next Monday is Martin Luther. And then, so do we want to send it out like this, that it's either January 9th? No,
We want to pick a day.
okay.
I don't think you want to send it either or to that many people. You'll end up with
Well, I could send it, make a doodle poll. No, okay.
whoever can come.
Okay, whoever can come the 9th.
CTSB is on the line here. Why don't you ask them?
Oh, CTSB.
Right. Because you can't have a hybrid meeting unless they're involved.
So the way that that's been working on our end is every time I send out an agenda, I send an email right to CTSB. So it can happen up to a week ahead of time. And it's worked out smoothly so far.
But because we're changing from the first Monday to the second. Right, you might want
And
to-
there's no, as far as I know, when I talked to Terry, the clerk, there's no, they don't put they don't put us on the calendar until I email them the agenda. They know that we do it every once a month, but just
Okay.
for the sake of sometimes if we miss a month or something. But in this case, I'll reach out extra early to confirm it, make sure everything's good.
Yeah, especially if Martin Luther King Day is the 3rd, because the Compusa Bog Commission.
Oh, no, it's yeah,
It's the 3rd one, so we want to grab that second one.
gotcha. So that's a good thing to know. Okay, so I'll reach out extra. Thank you for that. I'll reach out extra early because I didn't know you do every 3rd
We
Monday.
do every 3rd.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'll lock that date down.
And I can send you these email addresses
Perfect.
for the
Yeah.
invitation. And I think the only thing in the invitation you have to say is discussion of invasive.
Right,
species.
right.
You're
I'll-
invited to a discussion.
I'll write something up and then I'll just have a second eyes
Okay,
to make sure and then,
I'll send you this list.
yeah. Okay. Email Terry about the 9th. All right. Before we move on, any other information or pamphlets that people have or have used about the pest that we really want everyone to share with everyone? Okay. And we can share, we can do more leading up. Yeah.
Did you do the approval of the minutes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You came right after we had done it.
Okay, fine.
Thank you for reminding me. No, that happened right before you joined. All right. Moving on. AFC philosophy. So this is going back to what Lisa had contributed at our last meeting to see if anyone had any other additions.
I guess I have a problem with the second sentence. I went back and rewatched the Vermont Land Trust on how to manage for old growth attributes, and just letting it grow wild, while it's one of them, is certainly not the best one. And there's 4 other ones. Also, the people have to pay taxes on the land. So having some recovery from creating an old growth with space and allowing the large trees to grow actually makes more sense to me if it was my land than that sentence indicates, which is, hey, forever wild. So I'm not.
The sentence starting for these reasons, that sentence, Eric?
It
Okay,
just says forever wild, okay. But that's not encouraging growth characteristics the way it was presented in that video.
yeah,
I don't think I'm seeing the same draft you are.
yeah. Can you read the sentence you're referring to? Because I tried to keep it vague.
The commission encourages efforts to increase forest resilience by
Yep.
keeping wooded landscapes forested, connected, and protected.
Yeah, so to me, I mean, you certainly can reword it any way you want, but to me, that was vague enough that it allowed for all the different possibilities. I didn't mean it to imply do nothing. You can keep it forested and still do some cutting. You can keep it connected and still do some cutting, but reword it in any way you want. This is just a draft.
Yeah, I didn't get a forever wild, don't touch it.
Yeah, that wasn't my
out of that
intention.
word.
What does forested, connected, and protected mean? Because what that means to me is what you just talked about with the mountain. And that's not really old growth. If you want old growth characteristics,
Yeah.
you really have to do something. Otherwise, you just get the second or third growth of whatever's there.
So how would you want to change this?
I haven't thought that far.
Okay. So, I mean, any suggestions are welcome. This really was just giving us something to work from.
No, and I, you know, in my head, you know, the one suggestion I had going off of this, is putting something into, expanding on not forested. Forested, I feel like as a term in itself, I think kind of to what Eric's saying, maybe a little, we're trying to go for old forest characteristics, right? Forested, I feel like is that connotation of like going in and cutting. So I was thinking like, trying to come up with a better term for like, and I don't know, and I kept coming back to management, like are we managing for old growth? Managing then implies we're in there with our hands doing stuff, but we're not.
Oh, it doesn't, we could be.
Could
I mean, we're not doing anything.
Right.
It's just a.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, we don't say explicitly that we're encouraging the development of old growth forest. So
Right.
if we want to say that, then we can. I think that the word resilience is a really good one because,
Yeah.
and it may also be worth being more explicit about climate resilience, which is a little different from biodiversity resilience. I mean, they're related,
Right.
but they're not exactly the same
Right.
under the circumstances that we are in.
So do you want to take out carbon sequestration and put climate resilience?
Well, no, I think climate sequestration is great, because that's what's one of the reasons that, I like the first sentence in that it's saying, here are some things that old forests do, and carbon sequestration is definitely one of them. I would put that actually before the spiritual thing, so that it's all of the ecological things, and then also spiritual sustenance or something rather than retreat, or spiritual something, I don't know. I like that you got something in there that addresses people, people's experience of the forest, in addition to the things that the forest is good for, ecologically.
I don't have any problem with the first sentence. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
It's what
Yeah.
we're encouraging, which is not what we've been talking about for the last two meetings.
So you want to think about what we're encouraging and find some words for it for the
We've had
next?
a video, a pamphlet and a brochure on old growth characteristics. And I don't see that here.
So it sounds like two things I've heard is climate resilience and old growth forest
Characteristics.
characteristics.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's sounding like it's important to us to put in here somehow.
So do you want me to work it some more and try to make it sound like we're not saying, don't touch it forever, and get those two terms in a second sentence?
I'm not quite sure what forest resilience is, but if you put in, since you're encouraging efforts to increase forest resilience, and then mention you're encouraging forestry that has something to do with old growth, that would work for me.
Forest.
Forest practices, by encouraging forest practices,
That would be good.
forest practices that, and I'll word
And
it,
old growth,
that
that
contribute to old growth characteristics.
Yeah.
would be good.
Okay,
And climate resilience, maybe floating there in that association.
okay, I'll work that a little more.
And the one other thing I was wondering about is the last word, protected. Do we want to say anything about what is being protected from, or is that just, I really was I was at a loss when I thought about like protected from what, but
So why don't we scratch that and go with, excuse me, forest practices that contribute to old growth characteristics?
yeah. and, coastal characteristics
And climate
resilience.
resilience.
Yeah. And I think that biodiversity would be covered in that, I think, so,
I think I mentioned biodiversity up top.
yeah, so that's good.
Okay, I'll rewrite it and,
And you're not getting rid of the connected part.
oh, I did get rid of
You
it.
did rid
But
yeah.
it's still connected?
Do you still want it? Well, I think that's also important in its own way. And I know we got rid of the very cool, like forested connected, like I like that, lyrically, but, in some way, the more that these are all connected, I think there's something kind of nice about that we're also connected to the forest, but the forests themselves are all connected instead of just having, a parcel here.
Yeah,
Or
that's definitely better,
sprawl, there's something I think important about keeping it all connected, especially when we learn about like the mother trees and how roots are so connected to each other now.
It also extends the habitat for
Right,
everybody who's living in
Right,
it. So-
right.
okay, I'll try to work that back in.
And since this is a philosophy statement, I wondered if we should add something about agriculture, since we're covering both. If something like the AFC also recognizes the importance of maintaining agricultural lands that are ecologically sound, managed with sustainable methods that support climate resilience. For these reasons, Commission encourages efforts to increase agricultural resilience by, that I ran out, I don't know what, but
Yeah.
would it be
Point.
worth
Well,
something like that?
you make a great point because the AFC, the first thing is
Right.
agriculture.
Yeah.
So if there's kind of like, we have the forestry, philosophy, and then the agricultural, statement, which I can, if you want to share that and put that on the doc, and then I can tinker maybe with that half of it. And maybe we can tie them together in a beautiful way, tie a nice bow. Because I think the whole reason I brought this whole, just to be clear too, brought this whole idea up of making this for our group is so that we can kind of not struggle, but talk over these higher end thoughts to hopefully inform our day-to-day practices when we are working on all the other things we're working on, whether it be in the commission or at work. Because I think otherwise, if we're here just talking about which trees to cut down,
Yep, I agree.
it kind of can be draining.
Well, why don't you guys do a second draft with the agricultural piece and send it out and we can put it on next month's agenda?
Yep.
Perfect.
And I'll rewrite this and
I'll rewrite
send it to.
Yeah, and then are you still working off the same? Well, we can figure it out. We can marry them together after. Perfect. Awesome. All right. That being said, is there anything else? I sent out the management plans. Let me know that you got them and you can download them. If not, I can resend them. And to confirm, just to reconfirm, January the 9th for everyone. If something comes up, we can't get that date or something, I will let you know. Internally, if something does arise, I will try for the 23rd.
Why don't you just kick it out to the first January and February, first Monday in February?
Well, I think we can get the 9th, but just, my own backup plan for my own sanity. Just if there's any problem with the 23rd or the 9th, I'll let you know about the 23rd. Okay. I'll email everyone. But I'm not gonna send an email out to get a doodle poll. I promise.
Thank you.
All right. With that being said, make a motion to end the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.